Hey everyone, Board Game Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a prototype copy of Pulp Invasion, a solo player game about roaming space as a merchant and mercenary. The game is from Todd Sanders and published by Albin VR Studio Games Plus. Now I mentioned that in the game you're a merchant and a mercenary, but secretly you are an agent of the Intergalactic Council, and you are sent on a mission to explore planets infiltrated by 3 alien races known as the Cosmic Hegemony, because those aliens have plans to invade the peaceful worlds of the Intergalactic Alliance. To stop them, we will need to find their super weapons. This is a push your luck game with a bag building mechanic built into it, and the game plays in about 30 minutes. To set up, you will take 3 alien cards and randomly place them face up in a row. From the 6 captain cards, you will randomly draw one of them to use per game. This card is placed in front of you with 3 different tracking cards to track your stats. You will place the required cubes on each track per your captain card. You will then decide on 2 dice to use from the choices depicted on your captain card. These will be placed on your ship or your crew area on your player track card. The 48 location, guard force, agent, and event cards are shuffled and 3 piles are dealt out face down below each alien card. These will be known as encounter draw decks for each alien. You will seed the bag with 4 red, green, blue, and black cubes, and yellow and white colored cubes will be added depending on your difficulty level. 4 for a basic game, 5 for a normal game, and 6 for an advanced game. Whatever number that you choose for the white and yellow cubes will also be the number of super weapons in the game, and the number of super weapons that you will need to find. Place the remaining cubes in the general supply to use later. Put the chosen number of super weapons in a face-down deck. The 12 planet cards are shuffled and 3 are dealt out in a row, with the remaining planet cards being placed to the side to form a planet deck. Now, your game should look a little bit something like this. So you will win the game when you discover all of the super weapons, and you will lose the game if any 2 of your stats reach 0, or if you do not find all the super weapons before you are unable to draw new cards from any of the encounter decks. In the encounter phase, you will choose one of the 3 planets to start searching, and you will place this card near you in a slot designated for a planet that you are visiting. If all 3 planets have been searched, then you will deal out 3 new planet cards. You will then draw the top 4 cards of the encounter deck to the leftmost spot and place them in a row in front of you in the order that you drew them, forming an encounter line. Looking at your encounter cards, you will then place the depicted cubes shown on each card from the supply into your bag. If you run out of cubes of a certain color, then you will ignore placing them in the bag. After placing all the cubes in the bag, if there is a location card located in your encounter line, then you will remove it and place it below your planet card. If you already had a location card present, then you will discard it and replace it with the new one. If you draw multiple locations, then you're going to place and use the last one drawn as your new location. The actions and the text on your location cards will react according to the alien that you are currently involved with. So the alien icon in the lower right of its card will match up with the ability shown on the location card of the same icon. You will then go through all your encounter cards from left to right. For each card that you apply any listed actions from the location card that matches up with the alien card. This can change things up a bit, but just pay attention and remember your location. Starting with the first card from the left, you are going to either choose to engage that card or to evade it, and sometimes you don't have a choice. If you choose to engage it, then you will find the number on the top left of that card. This is the engage strength, but you'll still need to know which of the 3 stats you might need to use to engage with this encounter. You will then look at the card to its immediate right and use the icon shown. So now you know how much of that ability that you'll need to pay to engage in this encounter. Again, you'll use the number on the card that you're encountering and the icon on the card that's immediately to the right of it. If there is no rightmost card, then you will use the leftmost card for its engage icon. This will happen if it's the last card in the encounter line, And you will also need to know if there is one card that remains in the encounter line and you choose to engage it, then you'll use its own icon for the engage strength calculations. Encounters can be modified due to aliens, locations, or your action or certain cards, and encounters that you engage in may also have additional engage strengths and icons added to them. You'll just have to read all the text and follow the directions of how you go about engaging. To engage a guard force or an agent, you will need to pay the matching abilities equal to or greater to their engage strength numbers, or by using one of your captain's dice if it accomplishes your goal. The captain's dice can be used once per turn during any time of the encounter phase, and if you decide to use one of the dice, you will rotate the die down to a lower value after its use. This value is the number on the bottom right of the face of the die. You will then be able to perform the shown action from the face of the die. If you're new to the game, you're going to need to check out the rule book to see what each of these actions are, but after you understand and play the game, you will understand all the icons on all the dice. If your die ever reaches to its lowest face, it remains there unless the die is re-rolled. Additionally, during an encounter, you can spend 2 points of any ability to equal 1 of another. You'll be moving the cubes down on your tracking card tracks. Remember, if you ever hit 0 on any 2 of the 3, then you lose the game. If a card that you engaged with has a key or a code icon on it, then you may take it into your hand at the end of the round. The keys and the codes are going to give you additional bonus actions that you can perform depending on the planet's bonuses that you want to use it with. Now, the other option during your turn is if you don't want to engage it, then you're going to evade it. To evade, then you will pay 1 ability point of your choice to moving it down on the track, and then randomly draw 2 cubes from the bag, placing them back into the general supply. If you drew a yellow, a black, or a white, these cubes are actually going to be put back into the bag, and you must draw again. For each red, blue, or green cubes that you draw, then you're going to reduce the ability matching it of that color by 1. And those cubes you'll then put back into the general supply. So really, when you choose to evade, you're going to choose 1 ability point to move down yourself, and then 2 more that are going to be drawn randomly from the bag. Also, when you evade, the card's engage icon is no longer valid for the rest of the encounter line. You'll need to rotate the card 90 degrees to show that it has been evaded. You will have 4 encounter phases for each alien, and when the encounter deck for that alien is empty, then you'll move to the next alien and start drawing from its encounter deck. Now, after you get through the encounter line by evading or engaging, then you may now search the planet for any super weapons. You'll need to follow the text on the chosen planet card, paying codes or keys from the cards that you have in your hand, and placing them in the discard pile if used. Most times, these are going to give you additional chances to do something good. You will then randomly draw out cubes from the bag equal to the number of planet icons showing on the bottom right of the remaining encounter line cards that you decided to engage in. This number can also be modified by different cards. Sometimes these cards are in the encounter line itself, or sometimes they're from the planet card. So again, you'll be drawing the number of cubes that you have planet icons in the encounter line. If you draw a yellow cube, then you will draw a super weapon card and place that cube on top of the card. Now for each red, blue, or green cube drawn, either add 1 to the ability of the matching color and place that cube back into the general supply, or add the cube to a super weapon card to understand how it can be operated. The super weapon card will list what color and the amount of cubes needed to be able to understand it. You can never increase your abilities past your starting numbers. You officially understand a super weapon card after you have added the number of cubes required to understand that card. You will leave the cubes on the card and the weapon is now active. Understanding a super weapon activates its special powers during your encounters. You can use its power once during each encounter phase. Also know, some super weapons don't need to be understood to use them. Now, going back to the planet search phase, if you draw a black cube, then you will need to add it to the Cosmic Hegemony card, the Quietus, unless you have already passed it. If you already encountered the quietest sector, then you must lose one ability point of your choice, and the cube is then placed back into the general supply. White cubes are false positives, and you will place them back into the bag, hopefully never to be drawn again, but most likely to be drawn again. After a round, you will then discard all the cards in the encounter line, adding any codes and keys from engaged enemies to your hand, and you will discard the now searched planet, and begin a new round by starting the encounter phase again and a planet search. By the end of the game, you win if you find all the super weapons. You lose if you do not find all the super weapons before the third encounter deck is empty. And remember, you will also lose if any two of your abilities ever reach 0 during an encounter. Good luck, Captain. The game is all about bag management. You need to manage what colors are in or outside of the bag so that you can get the most out of your actions on different cards. You'll most likely want to get rid of the black and whites. The black cubes generally have a bad effect on certain cards if you draw them during its action. And other cards will make you add black cubes if you're in a certain location. And lastly, if you draw it during the planet search phase, it will be added to one of the alien cards. If enough cubes land on that card, then it will cause an added engage strength to some of the guard forces, making it tougher to engage. White cubes are also not wanted in the bag. These cubes just take up room and chances to draw something good to give you better actions. But if you draw the white cube, it's a false lead and it ends up back into the bag. So try to get those white cubes out of the bag. The red, green, and blue cubes can either be good or bad having them in the bag. It can cause some negative effects when drawn on certain cards, or they can increase one of your ability stats when drawn in a planet search phase. And you will need to also collect a certain number of certain colors with some of the super weapons. Lastly, the yellows. You will want to draw as many yellows as you can during that planet search phase so that you can get some super weapons. These will make things easier as you can use its bonuses and actions to do more powerful actions. And if you don't get yellows at the planet search phase, then it's going to be very, very hard to do well in the game. Again, you will need to try to control the best that you can as to what goes in the bag and what you can take out of the bag. And it's hard to believe it, but sometimes engaging is not the right answer for every card. The dice gives you these additional actions that you can use, and then you can try to use other actions to try to reset those dice back to a higher number. The higher numbers on the dice have a more powerful action. As you use them, you will have to roll it down each time, causing you to have a lesser and lesser effective action. The game is challenging. I like how if you get some randomly dealt out cards making it really hard at the beginning, then you might get those cards that help you more at the end of the game. Or it can be pretty even throughout each planet that you visit. Or it can even be easy and then it gets really, really hard near the end. Either way, the game is designed to give you a chance to manipulate those cubes to give you the best chance at what the game throws at you. Also, as the game goes on, you will hopefully gain more super weapons to give you better actions to use. Take advantage of your extra actions as they will lead you to victory. While you're playing the game, you're going to have some tough choices as to if you want to engage or evade a certain card. You are trying to collect codes and keys at the bottom of the card to use to give you extra actions, and also trying to engage the cards that have a planet symbol on the bottom, as you will be able to draw another cube at the planet search phase, upping your chances to draw yellow or a colored cube to add to a super weapon. But as I've hinted, evading might equally thin out your bag, taking out some cubes so that you can draw those yellow cubes later on. The game's theme comes through strongly as you pick planets giving you certain actions, locations on that planet that can be both positive or negative. You'll have a character each time that you play giving you different stats and different dice or different actions to use. There are 3 aliens, but in the expansion it gives you additional ones that you can use, and you will get to know the super weapons as there are only 6 of them, but you can play better by knowing the possibility of discovering a certain one to take its bonus action. The X1 expansion adds the ability to play the game as a 2-player game, and I haven't been able to check this out yet, but the game is a solid solo game including intergalactic choices, bag management to defeat the 3 hegemony villains. Keep your cover as you explore the planets of the Rim in Pulp Evasion by Albin Viard Studio Games Plus. Again, this is Board Game Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.